The morning Clara Bennett was told she was replaceable began like every other, quiet, cold, and heavy with the kind of exhaustion only invisible people carry. She stood in the vast lobby of a towering corporate building in downtown Chicago, her worn cleaning cart beside her, fluorescent lights humming overhead. At 46, her hands were rough from years of scrubbing floors that others never noticed, her back stiff from bending over messes she didn't make. She had raised 2 children alone after her husband passed, never asking for sympathy, never asking for more than the chance to work honestly. But that morning, as she overheard a supervisor coldly remark that cleaners are easy to replace, something inside her cracked. The words sank deeper than any insult ever had, because they echoed the fear she carried every day, that her existence could be erased without consequence. Before the story continues, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of standing up for others, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Your support helps keep stories like this alive. Clara kept working that day, even as her hands trembled. She moved from floor to floor, wiping fingerprints off glass walls, emptying trash bins, polishing marble floors that reflected the faces of executives who never looked back at her. She had learned to stay quiet, to stay invisible, because speaking up often came with consequences she couldn't afford. Every dollar she earned went toward rent, groceries, and her son's college fund. There was no safety net, no backup plan, only endurance. What she didn't know was that someone had been watching her work for weeks, not with suspicion, but with quiet admiration. That person was Andrew Collins, the CEO of the company. A man known publicly for sharp decisions and relentless ambition, but privately weighed down by the memory of his own mother, who had once cleaned offices at night while he slept in the back of her car. Andrew often arrived early, using the quiet hours to think, and during those mornings he noticed Clara. He noticed how she straightened crooked chairs before meetings, how she fixed things without being asked, how she paused to pick up trash even when it wasn't her responsibility. He saw something few others did, a woman who cared deeply about a place that barely acknowledged her existence. The day everything changed came during a tense management meeting. Budgets were being slashed, departments reviewed, and outsourcing was discussed as a way to optimize costs. A manager casually mentioned that cleaning staff could be reduced, stating plainly that they were replaceable. The room nodded in agreement. That was when Andrew stood up, his expression unreadable. He spoke calmly but firmly, recounting how he had watched one cleaner arrive early every day, leave late, and treat the building with more respect than some of its highest-paid employees. He spoke about dignity, about how a company's character is revealed by how it treats those with the least power. And then he said something that stunned the room, that anyone who believed people were replaceable had no place leading others. News of the moment spread quickly through the building, but Clara didn't know any of it as she worked quietly on the top floor. She only realized something had changed when she was asked to come to the executive office. Her heart pounded as she walked down the long hallway, already fearing the worst. But instead of reprimand, she was met with calm eyes and genuine respect. Andrew thanked her for her work, not as a formality, but with sincerity. He told her that her dedication had not gone unnoticed, and that the company would be improving wages and protections for its cleaning staff, starting with her. Clara stood frozen, overwhelmed, unsure whether to cry or breathe. No one had ever spoken to her that way before. From that day on, things slowly began to change. Clara walked into work with her head a little higher. Other employees started greeting her by name. The fear that once followed her every step loosened its grip. She still worked hard, harder than ever, but now she did so with dignity, knowing her efforts mattered. Andrew didn't become her savior, he simply became someone who chose to see her humanity when it mattered most. And that made all the difference. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Stories like this remind us that kindness still exists in a world that often forgets it. Before this story ends, I want to ask you something from the heart. Please leave a comment sharing what part of Clara's journey moved you the most. Your words might inspire someone else who feels invisible today. Clara returned home that evening tired but lighter, carrying something she hadn't felt in years: hope. Not because her life had suddenly become easy, but because someone had finally seen her worth. And sometimes, that single moment of recognition can change the course of a person's life forever.